You are eating less than you used to, you are training more than you used to, and your body looks almost exactly the same as it did a year ago. If that sentence describes your life right now, this video is for you. Because I lived that sentence for years, and the reason it was happening had nothing to do with how hard I was trying. It had everything to do with 5 specific things I was doing wrong, things that looked responsible, things that felt like effort, things that were working directly against me while I thought they were helping. I am going to walk through all 5, and I need you to stay until number 4, because number 4 is the one that almost nobody talks about, and it was the single change that made everything else start working. The first thing I changed was how aggressively I was cutting calories. Here is the scene I was living. Sunday evening, I would decide that this week was the week. I would cut my food down to almost nothing. I would track everything. I would be strict. Week 1 would go well. The scale would move. I would feel like it was finally working. Week 2 or 3, something would shift. The hunger would become constant. The energy would drop. My brain would start obsessing about food at random moments during the day, and eventually I would eat something I was not supposed to and feel like I had destroyed everything. Then I would start over the following Monday. Sound familiar? Here is what was actually happening inside my body during those cycles. Think of your metabolism like a thermostat in a house. When it gets cold outside, the thermostat works harder to keep the house warm. When the temperature outside drops even further, the thermostat turns up even more. Your body does the same thing in reverse. When you cut calories dramatically, your body treats it like a threat. It turns the thermostat down. It burns fewer calories at rest. It increases the hormones that make you hungry. It makes food feel more rewarding to the brain. It fights back using every tool it has. A study from 2016 followed contestants from a major weight loss TV competition. These people had lost enormous amounts of weight through extreme calorie restriction. 6 years later, their bodies were burning up to 500 fewer calories per day than expected for their size. The restriction had changed how their metabolism operated, long after the diet ended. Your body cannot tell the difference between a strict diet and a famine. It responds to both the same way. When I switched from extreme restriction to a moderate deficit, the cycle stopped. I was eating more than before, and losing more consistently than before, because the thermostat was no longer fighting me. The second change was what I used as my primary fat loss tool. For years my answer was cardio, long sessions, 5 or 6 days a week. I believed that more cardio meant more fat burned, which meant leaner over time. The body figured out a workaround. Within weeks of starting a consistent cardio routine, the body becomes more efficient at it. It burns fewer calories to do the same session. It also quietly reduces how much you move during the rest of the day. Small things, less fidgeting, taking the elevator instead of the stairs, sitting more between sessions. You do not notice it happening, but the numbers add up. Cardio was costing me an hour a day, and the body was quietly clawing back the deficit I thought I was creating. Muscle works differently. Muscle tissue costs calories to maintain, every hour of every day, not just during a workout, when you are sitting at your desk, when you are sleeping, when you are doing nothing. More muscle means a higher baseline burn that runs continuously. When I shifted from long daily cardio to resistance training 3 times a week, 2 things happened. My body composition started changing in a way that cardio alone never produced, and I had more energy because I was not exhausted from daily long sessions. I still do cardio, it has real benefits, but resistance training became the foundation, cardio became the supplement. The third change was treating protein like the priority, not an afterthought. I used to track calories and pay no attention to where those calories came from. As long as the number was right, I thought it did not matter. It matters enormously. Protein does something that carbohydrates and fat do not do at the same level. Your body has to work harder to digest it. Around 25 to 30% of the calories in protein are used just to process it. So 100 calories of protein delivers less net energy than 100 calories of bread or oil. But the bigger reason protein changed everything for me is what it does to muscle during a deficit. When the body is not getting enough food, it looks for places to pull energy from. If protein intake is high, the body preferentially burns stored fat. If protein is too low, the body starts dismantling muscle to use for fuel. Less muscle means a slower metabolism. A slower metabolism makes the next attempt at fat loss even harder. I started building every meal around a protein source first. Everything else came after. The difference in how full I felt and how well my body composition responded was immediate. Now here is the change I promised you earlier. Number 4, the one nobody talks about. I fixed my sleep. I know it does not sound like a fat loss tool. It sounds like basic health advice that has nothing to do with getting lean. Here is what sleep actually is. It is your hormonal reset. A study published in the Annals of Internal Medicine tested what happened when healthy young people slept only 4 hours a night for 2 consecutive nights. The hunger hormone went up by 28%. The satiety hormone went down by 18%. The subjects were significantly hungrier. They craved high-calorie foods specifically, and their appetite increased in ways they could not control through willpower. 2 nights, 2 hormones, completely different internal environment. I was sleeping 5 to 6 hours every night, trying to maintain a caloric deficit against hormones that were sending constant hunger signals, and wondering why I kept breaking my diet. Willpower is not infinite, but the hormones that regulate hunger respond to sleep. When I started treating sleep as seriously as I treated training, the dietary discipline that had always felt like a battle became significantly easier, not because I became stronger, because the hormones stopped working against me. 7 to 9 hours changed more about my results than any supplement I had ever tried. The 5th change was the hardest one to accept, and it required less effort, not more. I stopped measuring progress week by week. Every previous attempt I had made at getting lean used the scale as a weekly verdict. Good week if the number went down, failed week if it stayed or went up, a week of water retention, a heavier training week, a salty meal. Any of these would send the number up, and I would conclude that nothing was working. So I would change things, new approach, new protocol, new plan. I never stayed with anything long enough for it to actually work. Research on body composition change consistently shows that meaningful visible changes take 8 to 12 weeks of consistent effort to accumulate. I was abandoning approaches at week 3 or 4, right before the results would have started appearing. I switched from measuring outcomes to measuring inputs. Did I hit my protein target today? Did I train this week? Did I sleep? The scale became a monthly average instead of a daily verdict. That single change in measurement removed the emotional cycle that had been causing me to quit and restart for years. These 5 changes did not happen all at once. I made one change and held it until it was automatic, then added the next. The full implementation took about 4 months. 4 months is nothing compared to the years I spent working hard at things that were not working. Before closing, if you have any metabolic conditions, hormonal issues, a history of disordered eating, or if you are on medication, speak with a healthcare professional before making significant changes to your diet or training. What worked here applies to generally healthy adults in a normal context. If you recognized yourself in any part of this, subscribe and leave a like. Tell me in the comments, which of these 5 was the mistake you were making and how long had it been holding you back?